rest is what helps us think, helps us recalibrate, if that's the word, helps us come back to ourselves and realize what we want to do and what we don't want to do. Rest is what helps us be energized and excited about life. This week dragged me again, and now I'm on leave. Ha! Praise be. Doo-doo-doo. Welcome to the third episode of OMG, another podcast. My name is Mukami. I realized, I think in the previous podcast, I did not introduce myself. Here I am, assuming that you already know who I am. But thank you so much for being here. Um, what went through my mind today is I'm on leave. Finally, I've not taken leave all the this whole year from January, and now we're in June by the time of this recording. And it's the hustle culture versus what, taking a rest, taking a break, and the guilt that comes with that. I remember the reason why I took leave and finally I can have some free time to even do this is I was just deep in a crazy project at work. Remember, I told you I do have a 9 to 5, and I was just feeling so tired and defeated. And I was just wondering to myself, why am I pushing forward, taking this leave? Why do I feel so guilty about taking rest? And and I kept asking myself, is it how we were raised? Is it because of we were told, when you're resting, it's lazy. It's also quantified to being lazy. And why is taking a break or taking some rest so demonized? You know. So it reminded me of this one time. My friend and I from work, shout out to her name is Emily. We had gone for 36 hours in Zanzibar. We were doing a project there for a client of ours. And I just remember how life on the island is so slow. And not in a bad way. It's just that they don't have an urgency. And I'm not even dissing them. It's not even in a negative way, but it's just slow. Like, you wake up, people are just more pleasant. People are just, friendly. They're kind. And for many moments, actually, because I still remember it to date, and this was 2 years ago, I believe, I wanted to be an island girl on Zanzibar. Yep, that was my new that was my new dream now to be that, because I actually really envied that. From primary school, we are told to hustle. You have to get the grades. KCP is coming. I know that's out of the picture now, but then that was my reality. You have to hustle. So you're hustling. You're there. You're trying to get good grades so you can be called into a nice high school. Then you get into high school, and you have all these new subjects that you have to do, and it's like 12 of them. And then that is more hustling because you need to get good grades to get into like a good university and do the course of your dreams. And then more hustling. And, now you're in university, you want to be the best professional, and now the stakes are higher. And it's not just about good grades, it's about, networking, it's about, other skills, um, soft skills, as people call them. I just call them skills, knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to present yourself, all these things. And when do you actually rest? And that's why, isn't that why we're just so excited for public holidays, for December when it comes around? I mean, because we don't prioritize rest. Like, for example, when someone calls you and says, "Hi, what are you doing?" and then you say, "Oh, I'm resting," it's like, "Oh, so you're doing nothing." Like, let me give you a plan. And I actually find that sad. So I was grappling with a lot of guilt before I took leave. I just, like I mentioned, there's just a big project that we were working on, and I was wondering what a good moment to take time off is. And there isn't a good moment until one day your body breaks down, or your body says enough, or you just you're not even functioning at the optimal level that you would have on a normal day if you're just taking that rest. So I don't even have answers in terms of like what the solution is, but like we need to prioritize rest. I need to prioritize rest. You need to prioritize rest. You'll find yourself, during the week you're hustling, you're doing the job, you don't want to left behind. We're trying to get like 7 different sources of income. So there's that. and you're trying to do the most. And, the weekends is when now you're catching up with everything else, probably house shopping, family, friends, your hobby, and all those things. So when do you actually prioritize rest? What does rest look like? There are some scientists who say that rest doesn't mean just sitting on your couch and bed rotting. Sitting on your couch and bed rotting, you know what I mean? Like just bed rotting and doing nothing. That it can be an activity that takes you away from your daily life. So it can be cooking, it can be, you know, engaging in an activity like exercise. It can be doing something like a sip and paint, and I put that in there so that there's someone who has beef with the sip and paint. But it can be something that is just outside your norm, your daily life, so that you can pour back into yourself. And rest is what helps us think, helps us recalibrate, if that's the word, helps us come back to ourselves and realize what we want to do and what we don't want to do. Rest is what helps us be energized and excited about life. And I realized this, like I said, when I was working on that project, and I found myself very exhausted, and I found myself not, having the passion to continue. And I realized that, oh, damn, like I'm in the rat race and I'm not prioritizing rest. And I was like, yeah, I need to take leave. I need to carve out time, for example, for me to be able to do this podcast and share with you. And that's one of the things that I felt was necessary and important, as one of the things that I want to share with you today. And it may be whatever it is. It can be just like, you know what, I'm taking time off to sleep, I'm taking time off to travel. There are friends of mine who, there's actually a friend of mine called Mukira, hello, and she says that she works to travel. So if she's not working, you will find her in another country or in another part of this country, just exploring. And because that's what pours into her. And I remember her telling me that whenever she does that, she finds herself like, her mind is opened. She gets new perspectives. She sees new possibilities. She meets new people. She's able to trust herself more, because a lot of these trips are also solo trips. And it just expands yourself, just because she decided to rest and she takes that so seriously. It's one of her investments. And it got me challenged and thinking, like, what does rest look like? And it's not, I'm not saying the quintessential just, bed rotting or scrolling on your phone. What else are you doing to pour back into yourself? There's different types of rest. There's the rest that I'm talking about, sleeping and resting, which we all need. But then there's also the rest where you are rejuvenating yourself and your creative juices and things that nourish you as a human being. And what do those things look like, right? And that's why I also I'm doing this podcast, for example. It's one of the ways in which I am pouring back into myself. It's a creative venture. I was feeling like, oh gosh, what else can I do with myself? How else can I push myself further? So it is an investment. There is a lot of work that goes into me being here. There's a lot of prep from my side, and also, like, obviously I don't work alone. I work with an amazing a team, and a bunch of people who are really brilliant. But it also, I feel like it pours back into myself and makes me see life in a new way, through other colored glasses, where I feel like there's more to life than the project, than the, okay, for me, a lot of my experience is corporate talk. So, a quick call here and there, jumping on a Teams call. I even know that ding from the Teams notification and things like that. And sometimes you just need to step away from that. Sometimes you just need to step away from that and see the bigger picture and see what's important in life and see what matters. Go and hug your dog and go on the trails of Karura and run and feel the air filling up your lungs and live. At the end of the day, we do all these things so that we can be able to live. At the end of the day, we work so that we can be able to enjoy life. But I think I forget a lot of the whole point is, I don't know if you've seen the trend on TikTok, this is the whole point. And so for me, this was also just a reminder, that thought that the whole point of this all is for me to be able to enjoy life, for me to be able to be guilt free in indulging in joy, whether it's going for a concert, whether it's travel, whether it's meeting up with a friend and prioritizing those things as much as we prioritize the hustle. And it's, it's unfortunate. A lot of social media as well, what we're consuming is really hinged on hustle culture. Like, oh, you're sitting there and, people are awake at 4:30. Remember that guy who was, I think, plunging his face in ice cold water, and apparently his wellness routine was starting at 3:30. So of course, if you're not like a morning person, and let's say your day is starting at 8, you feel like you're failing or you're doing the wrong thing. But I don't think there's a right or wrong answer in how to approach it, as long as you're pouring back into yourself, as long as you're resting, as long as you are taking care of yourself and you're loving yourself in a way that matters to you. But don't forget that there's more to life than what you are doing to hustle or to make money, or to make a living. It's also unfortunate though that I feel like in some ways, also maybe I'm speaking from a place of privilege. I'm also acutely aware of the economic times that we're currently living in, and things are so difficult, and it's not also necessarily from a place of want, but from a place of need, that people are really working hard, working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, having a job, having 2 side hustles, just to be able to put food on the table. I'm very cognizant of that reality. I'm not also like, saying that I'm exempt from that experience and what that reality is. That's not the case. I also am living that same reality, but I'm just saying, in the midst of the rat race, in the midst of the hustle culture, this is also a reminder to myself to prioritize joy, to prioritize pockets of rest, to prioritize things and ways that can pour back into you. And I don't know what that looks like for you. For me, I've mentioned, I don't know if I've mentioned, but for me that looks like, taking walks in Karura. I love Karura with my sisters especially. Rest looks like, doing something else and expunging myself creatively, and, through this podcast, which I'm really loving, and getting more comfortable, and, feeling more comfortable in my skin around. Rest is meeting up with a friend and just catching up and really, like, bonding. Rest is sometimes sleep and, eating and doing a Netflix and chill. Rest is going to watch a movie. Rest is a hike. It can be different types of rest, but basically the kind of rest that takes you away from the everyday hustles and bustles of life. The rest that kind of takes you away from the everyday pressures of life, to remind you what's beautiful and why life is worth living. At the end of the day, and especially just, right now, what we're going through as a country, even economically, it's not very fun. But it can just be like an ice cream date from, Creamy Inn, for example, and it's not that pricey. It can be the walk that I'm talking about. It can be, I don't know, just sitting down by yourself on top of a hill, maybe on going hills, and just coming back to yourself. But it's just a reminder as well to me whenever I'm having these episodes, and, like I mentioned at the beginning, it's a diary style kind of podcast, is to also remind myself. A lot of it is also for me, and it's just sharing what I've realized, what I have discovered, what I have come to terms with, and I feel like it's important to discuss. So I was beaten down and downtrodden by the hustle culture, and for 6 months I hadn't taken a pause just to, breathe and be present and do something else other than thinking about, and work. And I wanted to share that with you, and I hope this is also a reminder. So, and it's something that you will take upon yourself. There's also something else I wanted to share here. And I think I've also talked about the shame of I'm not available. And the fact that even when when someone asks us, are you available for this and that, you kind of feel guilty because you're doing nothing in your house. But like, why do you feel like it's such a big deal to, or it's wrong, almost wrong, and you have to come up with a whole excuse? And so I think for me, the tips, or what has helped or worked for me, and it's still a work in progress, is just schedule do nothing days. And what do those look like for you? It's reading a book. I love books. I love reading books. One day we'll talk about the kinds of books I'm reading, you know. So you can, indulge in a book that will be just your day. You're not even on the phone. It can be no scrolling mornings. The phone can really affect also our mood in terms of also what we're consuming, what we exposing ourselves to at the beginning of the day and also at the end of the day. Checking in with your body first and not your to-do list. Checking in with like, oh, how am I feeling today? Oh, I feel happy, I feel grateful. Starting off with gratitude, or at least affirmations of just saying, I'm in my body, I feel safe, I'm grateful for this day, I'm happy and healthy, and checking with yourself first. And romanticizing rest. It can be candles. Right now, I know you can't tell, but there's a wonderful Emily in Paris candle burning, and it's really making me happy. It's creating just a lovely mood. It can be music, like I mentioned before, it can be books. But romanticizing rest is not this evil thing that you're partaking in or something that you have to do in hiding, that you don't want people to know, like, oh my gosh, if they know that I am resting, then it's seen as a bad thing. So rest is, you don't have to earn rest. It's, you can just take a rest. You can decide to take care of yourself. You can decide to love on yourself a bit more. It can be the time you discover something new, like, I don't know, pottery. It can be a florist. You can have like a garden, whatever it is. At this point, I'm just ranting in terms of different ideas, but please rest. That is that is the CTA, the reminder, also a reminder for myself. Please rest. You are just a better human being. You're in a better mood. Have you ever found yourself by there being grumpy when you've just not rested? I don't know about you, but for me, especially without sleep, those people generally cannot function without sleep. So you're just a better human being. Your skin looks better. If you're working out, your muscles actually is one of the things you're told, they recover better. So please rest. I think that's just, this week's episode is just that. Please remember to rest. Please also share your experiences in the times where you have not rested. What did that look like? What does rest look like to you? Please share that with me. DM me, write me a voice note, interact with me in whatever way possible. And then, yeah, and probably I'll read them during the next episode. So please reach out to me on all my social media platforms. That's on MG, another podcast, on Spotify, on YouTube, on Instagram as well. Please like, share, subscribe. Give me your thoughts. I want to know in which ways, what other interesting ways actually have you been able to rest? Is it like being on the, those tuneti, what are they called? The ones at Leech House, Wantamu. The you did a radical thing of like you packed your bags. I decided I'm taking a one-way ticket and I don't know how long I'm going to be there for, and you just decided to shut off. But that's today's word of the day from my wise sensei mode. Please rest. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.